Hello and welcome back to your daily basketball recap. My name is Levi Jacob, and today we're just going to be going over a few quick hit notes for the preseason, essentially, of the NBA. I'm going to go through each team, give you one or two notes just from what I've seen. I don't think it's worth it, honestly, to go deep diving into like stats of the preseason because stats don't really mean anything. But it's interesting because there's a lot of experimental coaching going on and experimental play. Um, and I just like taking note and seeing what could be a storyline for the upcoming season. That could be a through line throughout the regular season. So I'm going to start in the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics. I know Jaylen Brown made a couple comments a few days ago about people are going to be surprised by this team. I not even in just seeing them. I think that we know what this team is. To be honest with you, not as far as their defensive prowess, but the fact that they are a very quick team who likes to shoot threes, and they basically added a couple of guys who like to play that way. So I think that they are exactly who we think they are. Um, as far as their success in the regular season, I think it'll just be dependent on if the three ball is falling for them. They have a lot of good 3-point shooters. Um, Offensively, Jaylen Brown can deliver, but again, I think that we understand what roles each of these players are probably likely going to play with the Celtics, and not to badmouth Joe Mazzulla, but like we've seen the offense before, we know what that looks like. So I don't think it'll be anything too shocking. Moving on to the Chicago Bulls, I I actually very honestly was surprised by the progression of Matas Buzelis. I'm I'm a fan of this Bulls team. Not that I think they'll be so great. I think they'll probably finish around the same seed as they did last year. I just like that the improved play at the end of last year, the picking up of the pace. In preseason, again, it's not been so crazy, but you've seen more Matas Buzelis, like just his progression is showing a little bit more on the basketball court. You see him making better decisions, um, and his shot IQ is just up to tick. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he turns into throughout his whole NBA career. But interesting is an interesting piece of this whole saga is seeing just exactly how he can complement the pieces that already exist on this Chicago Bulls team. Next are the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks, in a similar way to the Celtics, are exactly who we know them to be. We know what this team is supposed to look like. We likely know what this team will look like. I liked the additions they made in the offseason, and I'm excited to see what this team looks like in the regular season. I think that they could be a really good basketball team. The Brooklyn Nets. Um, I still don't know what to make of them. That's my note for this team. Ben Saroff might be more NBA ready than basically everyone has thought. His shot still looks egregiously terrible, but but who knows? There's people with unorthodox shots who play in the NBA, so it could really be that he's able to make something of it. That being said, um, the offense doesn't look as fluid as I think a lot of people thought it would be yet. Again, preseason. So I'm interested to see moving forward who's, scoring and who's taking on what roles and who's the primary passer. But I think Ben Saroff again is he's looking like the most promising so far out of all of the rookies on that team. Cleveland Cavaliers. They are interesting. Again, my concern with this team, just the one note, is that I really, really hope that Lonzo Ball stays on the floor. Um, two notes. Tyrese Proctor, I wonder if he fills some of those minutes as far as Ty Jerome, if, again, Lonzo Ball does take extra time out over the course of the season. Especially because now Lonzo Ball is not scheduled to play back-to-backs yet even. So who knows? But Tyrese Proctor looks like a very, very interesting prospect out of the second round. It could be a through line. The Charlotte Hornets. Con Knippel looks good. I'm happy to see LaMelo Ball out on the basketball court again, doing his shenanigans that he does. He's just fun to watch. He creates so many highlights. He's like a Gen Z version of Steph in a sense. Don't come after me. Relax. I'm talking about highlights. He makes those highlights. Maybe closer to James Harden. But I'm happy to see that LaMelo's out there again. I want to see him play basketball. I am interested to see how this team works moving forward. They need a center. They need a more established center since they traded all of their centers away for some reason. The Knicks. The interesting note about the Knicks to me is they were reportedly from Shams Charania, the only team that Giannis actually wanted to go to over the course of the summer. That's pretty crazy news in my eyes. There's a lot of traction there, through past history and whatever of different statements here and there. I feel like that's like big news that Giannis wanted to go to the Knicks, but it didn't happen. The Knicks also clearly in Mike Brown's system, people are getting easier shots. The coaching looks to be improving how this offense can flow. So I'm looking forward to that. The Detroit Pistons. I think this is Cade Cunningham's best year yet. It's going to be. He had this crazy, crazy alley-oop. It just didn't make any sense. But I think this is going to be Cade Cunningham's. I think he's going to finish top 3 in MVP voting, honestly. I think he's going to have a breakout year, like more so than he has had in the past 2 years. I think it's going to be a really big year for them. I think that the Pistons are going to be a very, very good team this year. And I think it's going to be in large part because of, obviously, Cade Cunningham. He's just coming into his own. He's a good player, number 1 pick, just moving later in his career, getting the experience, figuring out the flow of the game, his IQ, everything like that. So I'm looking forward, but I think that he's going to finish top 3 in MVP voting this year. The Miami Heat, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. It's dangerous to drink Miami Kool-Aid, I know. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. I think that this team is going to be better than a lot of people think that they will be. I've said this before, it's not any shock. I like that. I feel like Spoelstra is being a little bit more experimental in regards to his lineups and things like that, moving into the season. They seem like they're healthier this year than they were last year, or at the very least the start of last year, so that's good. Yeah, and we'll see. I think, I believe Norman Powell when he says that he believes that he's a, budding star. I don't think he's going to get an all-star this year. I think last year was the season when you have a point guard to set you up like James Harden. I think a lot of people are overlooking that in regards to Norman Powell's game, but he's going to be a creator for this team that they really needed last year without Jimmy Butler, and I think that he's going to provide them some pretty good scoring. The Philadelphia 76ers, I think VJ Edgecombe, if he gets the time, he has gotten the time in preseason, obviously, but I think if he gets the time, if Jared McCain is out for longer and whatever, I know the shooting splits are not great, but the tenacity is there. I think that he might put up a good case for Rookie of the Year. He might enter the race for a good couple of months for that slot. If not for, we'll wait until, I already posted in the last video, but we'll wait for when I get to this other team. The Indiana Pacers, my take on the Indiana Pacers as far as the preseason goes, I think that a lot of people are saying that they can stick around this season. I don't think that they will. I think that I happen to really like the Indiana Pacers. I like their system. I like Rick Carlisle's systems generally, this fast-paced offense. I just don't think that this year is going to look like last year did for them, obviously. I think they're going to miss Tyrese Halliburton much, much more than people think. I don't think that Andrew Nembhard is going to step into that starting point guard role as effectively. I just don't think he's that kind of player. I like Andrew Nembhard. I think that he's very underrated, actually. Like, and I've thought this way for the past 2 years when he had that really great run in the playoffs 2 years ago. But I just don't think that he's I don't think that he really his point guard tendencies are not as strong. The Orlando Magic, Desmond Bane is everything that they needed and was advertised for. Does that mean that I think that they're going to be a contender? I don't really think so. I know that Franz hasn't really been playing in this preseason so far, but I just feel like they're one piece away, honestly. They need something. I think they need a real distributing point guard, but I think that Desmond Bane is it was absolutely the right direction. And you can see just in the offense, everybody breathes a little bit easier. It really helps the flow of everything. The Toronto Raptors, there's an internet question going around of are the Raptors going to be better than we think that they were going to be? My answer is no. Brandon Ingram helps them with spacing, but when it comes down to it, his bread and butter is still not 3-point range. And he can't be the sole person who's shooting threes on that team. Emmanuel Quickley is going to play more hopefully this year, so that's going to help with the spacing on the floor. But I just think that they just don't really have so much of an identity on the floor still. I don't feel that it's defense first, regardless. I don't think it's so defense first which is weird because their defensive players are so prominent on that team. Like they lean mostly defense, but they have a lot of players who don't, like RJ Barrett is like a weird solely offensive player, but his offense is not modern NBA offense. And it's the same thing with Brandon Ingram. And I just think that I just don't think that the spacing is going to work when push comes to shove and people are playing for real. But it was nice to see Brandon Ingram out on the basketball court. That was really great. The Milwaukee Bucks. I really don't have anything to say for this team. I think a lot of people feel that way also, which is upsetting. But yeah, I just Giannis is going to put up probably incredible stats. I think in a weird way he might be very, very motivated this season, like more so than previous seasons. I don't think that it's just that the team seems so empty, and I hope that Miles Turner is able to play most of the season also because he usually has injury problems. So I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this team, honestly. The Washington Wizards, I didn't really watch much of what they've done so far in preseason. I think it's my grade for them, technically speaking, would be basically an incomplete as of yet. I just don't know. I don't know what to make of this team. I'm excited about them, but I don't know what to make of this team. The Denver Nuggets. I I don't really know what else to say about the Denver Nuggets other than the fact that I think that they're just going to be a great team. There's like nice chemistry moving around on this team. Um, I just feel like people are locked in. I don't know. Like people are like hungry. I think the last season they really they surprised themselves with how much when they started to step on the gas, how much they could actually improve, and they really fought tooth and nail. And I think that they're hungry again. I think that's what we see when we see them in preseason. I feel like they're like they're trying. The Golden State Warriors, man, I really hope this team stays healthy because it's like watching a younger Steph again. He's so rejuvenated by this whole team. Uh, they just look like so much. They're just so much fun to watch. They're so much fun to watch, and I really hope at the bottom of my heart that this team stays healthy throughout the season and they're able to put together a really good season because it's like I don't think that they're going to win the championship. I just think that for all of these older players really to go that far into the playoffs again after watching the Thunder last year, I'm like you gotta really really be able to stay healthy throughout the majority of the playoffs because it's a lot of games and it's really really draining. Um, I don't think that they're going to be able to do it because they're majority of them are older players, um, but they're so much fun. This chemistry is palpable. Watching them on the court, all the jokes and the smiling, like it's just so much fun to watch them play basketball. And Buddy Hield missing the three, so he doesn't give Jimmy the assist, and Jimmy like waving him all. Like it's just like it's great. It's great basketball. And this is just preseason. So I'm really really hopeful that this team stays healthy because they're fun to watch. The Dallas Mavericks, they're I think they're going to be good. Um, Everybody and their grandmother has talked about how Cooper Flag has all of the tools, resources, everything you could possibly need in order to be a successful NBA player. And then he, in his preseason games so far, has showed exactly that point. He's ball handling amazingly. He's executing well. He's playing smart on offense. He's blocking shots. He's got to be one of the most complete rookies of all time, NBA wise. He just has such a complete game so far, and he's only has to grow because he's 18, 19. So I'm excited for this Mavericks team. If Kyrie Irving is ahead of schedule, or he's not ahead of schedule, according to whoever's reporting on Kyrie Irving nowadays, because he said he's ahead of schedule, then he said he's not ahead of schedule. Who knows? I don't even care anymore. I think that they have a chance to make noise in this Western Conference. And I like them, I think, better than the Texas teams. I said this early in the summer, and I still feel that way. Anthony Davis being heavier, not heavier. He's played both ways in his career. One of the seasons where he was heaviest in his NBA career was when he was playing center alongside LeBron James, and they won a championship. So I'm not worried about it. He talked about how he usually plays in a game shape. Players say that also, like James Harden says that. I don't know if I believe that, but there's he's a very talented player. He's showed you that he can still run the floor even at a heavier weight. I'm not worried about it. The Timberwolves. I don't understand why the Timberwolves just keep getting more players that do the same things. Like, why is it so difficult for them to get a distributing point guard? Dante DiVincenzo is not the answer. He's a good player, but he's not the answer for lack of a point guard. And I just feel like they're not fully putting players around Anthony Edwards that optimize his game, and he's a dog. You know, he's like a real. He's a awesome player, and you just want to like it just feels like it's the easiest decision in the whole entire league is how to get him just like outside shooting help, you know. And I just feel like it's not happening. I don't know. But yeah, they keep having these guys who are great, who are also offensive creators for themselves, like good shot creators. But there needs to be something else in this team. There really does. The LA Clippers. We'll see. I'm reserving judgment on LA Clippers also. They also get an incomplete for me. The Houston Rockets. They are going to try to trade for a point guard. I don't think that Reed Shepherd is going to cut it. I like what he's shown so far in this preseason. He's shown that his game has gotten a little better. He feels more comfortable on the court. He's not going to be the answer this season. And if they're really trying to win a championship, he's not going to be the right call. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I'm interested to see kind of what they do because I wonder how much maneuvering they can do with all the players that they have now and that they've signed. That being said, I also wanted to say about the Rockets, just 2 notes. I think that I don't think that the move for a point guard is going to be as deliberate because I think that they're actually going to do a lot of playmaking by committee. This team, they're testing out a lot of ball handling for Amen Thompson, who we know he can do that a little bit. I think they're going to want to give the ball to Alperen Şengün to also see what he's able to do. I think they're going to test that out first. I think there was a lot of emphasis on if Reed Shepherd could be the starting point guard, we're cool, we're good. That's like a lot of the reporting. I don't think that they'll actually care as much about Reed Shepherd because I think that they'll want to see how much those young guys can actually develop in regards to their playmaking. Because then, if everybody can play make, because also Kevin Durant can play make a little bit. If everybody can play make, they won't be as as desperately in need of a all-star point guard. They can hang on a little bit until maybe Fred VanVleet can come back, or maybe they'll give it another year, or who knows. So we'll see what happens. And also Jabari Smith Jr. somehow is looking more athletic, and he's young. Like you'd think that he'd in his earlier seasons he'd look more athletic, but he's thrown down like 2 nasty dunks in this preseason. So that's cool. I want to see this ball, this team, move a little bit faster. The Lakers. I think that Austin Reeves and his growth as an NBA player going into this season is actually going to be more of a note than people think. I think that people aren't focusing as much on him. They think that he's a known quantity. I think that if he relinquishes more of the usage to other players, I think that will actually work in the Lakers' detriment. And he's played a long time with LeBron as the primary ball handler to this point in his career. And I think that he has the capacity to do it. But I think that he's going to need to be able to provide consistently, which I think he's totally capable of. But I just think that he's going to be a very important piece to this roster and a very underrated piece to this roster. Also, they have to get rid of Dalton Connect. I don't know how. They really should trade him for Mark Williams last season, but they got to figure out something because this poor guy, I think I think he still has NBA qualities, but I think that it's just this cloud is hanging over his head and it's total like he can't hit a wall. Like he can't, he just hasn't been able to really shoot well at all. The Memphis Grizzlies, I'm interested to see how this season goes for them. I like the amount of guys that they got to rotate into those positions, wing positions, 3-and-D positions. The big man rotation that they also have. I'm interested to see how this team looks. Hopefully, again, if healthy throughout the majority of the season. But I like what they have, and I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was going to be a sneaky addition that I think a lot of people thought was just a dead weight. The Portland Trailblazers, I think, is going to be a very, very interesting team. A lot of people are like, weird core. I don't know how much of an identity they're going to have. I think they're they're going to have a stronger identity than people realize. Their defense is obviously going to be their main focus. I think that their offense, they have a couple people that can actually facilitate a little bit, and I think it'll be a good note, like a good outcome. The Suns, this team is, I don't have faith in this team. I just don't have faith in them. I'm sorry. The New Orleans Pelicans, this team is like the Pelicans every year. I know it's not really a special note, but I really feel that this year they could really go either way. This team could be absolutely miserable and terrible to watch, or it could really be very, very interesting. I think one of those factors is Trey Murphy III. We'll see how much his game has developed. I mentioned that in the first game they had, you saw a little bit more of his offensive bag. I think that it depends on if he trusts his instincts to go along with that. The Utah Jazz, I still believe in this team, which is a weird thing. I understand that. I don't think anybody else believes in this team. A lot of people think that this might be the worst team in the league. I don't think that they will be. I have faith. Just watch it. Keep an eye. The Sacramento Kings, I don't have faith in this team. I like their pieces. I like the pieces that this team has, specifically Keon Ellis. I like Domantas Sabonis. Not that I don't really like what Zach LaVine offers. I don't think he's necessarily a winning player. I like DeMar DeRozan, but not in this system. It's going to be hard. Devin Carter is also a guy that I like. It's just there's too much. They're like, they don't know what they are. That's the problem. So they just have no idea what their identity is. It totally was messed up since Fox left, and even then they had a hard time knowing what their identity was. So we'll see what happens. San Antonio Spurs. I actually, in watching them in preseason, I think I'm a little bit lower on them than I was before. I think they're very young, and I think that they show that they're very young. And out of the, like I said, out of the Texas teams, I think that they might be the worst. Wemby's going to be awesome, obviously. I think a lot of the rookies are going to show like promise, and I think that Fox also is going to be a good player alongside Wemby. I mentioned to somebody that I think that he's there for the next like at least 3 years, basically, because there's kind of no harm in having him there, as long as they're not hitting the second apron. But I just, because a lot of these players are so young, I very strongly feel like the consistency of the identity of the team is going to be a difficulty. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And the last team is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is a little bit of a preview for tomorrow's video. My take on the Oklahoma City Thunder is they're winning the second title. They're winning back-to-back. I think it's, in my mind, is a little bit solidified now. After watching preseason, basically it's the bench of the bench unit, essentially. They were able to win the NBA title without having consistent three-point shooters. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy in the modern NBA. And I think that those three-point shooters will improve, and wait for tomorrow's video on that. But I'm almost entirely positive that they're gonna win the second NBA championship of their career. LeBron James, we're gonna talk about this note, this big NBA news. He faked out everybody with his second decision, and then he's brand partnering with Hennessy. LeBron, why? I know it's marketing. I studied marketing. I know the deal, but like, just come on, please. It's so on brand. It's so on brand for you. Why is it this corny? Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. But yeah, that was your daily basketball recap. My name is Levi Jacob. I want to thank you all for listening and watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow.